Hey guys, Captain Foley with you, and Silvia is back today.
Hi!
Today we're doing a movie review of Star Trek Into Darkness, which has a really cool lenticular cover, I must admit. But anyhow, I thought I'd wear a shirt that embodies JJ's vision of Star Trek and his love for it. No, this shirt is done for a movie called Unbelievable, which is done by Archangel Films, and I want to just give a shout out to the cast and crew of that awesome movie. 2013 Vegas convention, we were there, and the crew was actually staying at the Luxor, the same hotel as we were, so we ran into them a few times. They gave us free shirts. They were kind of worried they were going to get like beat up or mobbed when they wore these shirts at the convention, but everybody loved them. This movie stars a bunch of Star Trek cast. There's Robert Picardo, Garrett Wang, Tim Russ, a whack load of other ones, and a little wooden maquette of Captain Kirk. So it's very amusing. So check it out. Yeah. So anyway, today Star Trek Into Darkness, and we're going to go into darkness, but it's okay, guys. I have a flashlight to guide you through all the crap.
Don't blind people.
But you got to turn it off. There you go. All right, so, or as my brother calls it, Star Hop into Dumbness.
Wow, that's funny.
It is.
Mm.
Anyway, guys, let's get this show on the road, shall we? So, one of the best things about this movie is it's the first Star Trek movie in 3D, which is very cool. But if you own a Samsung TV like we do, you got the 2D to 3D conversion. Almost all Star Trek converts really well to 3D. So, but good going, JJ. I know it wasn't filmed in 3D originally. It was actually converted before it was released into 3D, but cool all the same.
3D.
So, pretty cool menu screen. Bless you.
Thanks.
Let's get started here. Of course, we're not watching it in 3D because then you guys would see all like double imaged and stuff. So I was going to wear my 3D glasses to this review, but I thought that'd just be dumb. Dumber than this movie. Yeah, I know that's hard to do. So
It's okay. I know you could do it.
thanks, honey. She has faith in me.
I do.
Just like you guys. Once again, the music is really good, and one of the best things I like about the new Star Trek franchise is the music. So, good job, JJ. So, cool planet. I love all the red foliage. So you got like a red foliage instead of green. Makes it kind of unique. Unless it's fall. Maybe it's fall. So we got Kirk being chased by the natives. And then he shoots their horse.
Damn it, man! That was our ride! You just stunned our ride!
So you're telling me the captain doesn't know the plan, doesn't know the mission, doesn't know that they had this creature ready to help them get away?
Maybe it was a last-minute change of plans.
I highly doubt that, but okay. We'll accept that. And why did he steal their sacred relic, by the way?
So they would chase away from the volcano. Wouldn't you chase your sacred relic?
I guess. She has a point. She just brought up.
I'm supposed to be the devil's advocate, but you can't say don't interfere and then, you know, destroy the volcano that's going to destroy them. That's kind of interfering, wouldn't you say?
And if they're a primitive culture like that, they might even worship the volcano or have like a volcano god. So yeah, I totally agree with that.
Are you sick again?
Yeah, I think I got that thing back. Sick of JJ bullshit. I think that fall would kill anybody.
Almost that the gravity is less than the Earth's gravity.
Yeah.
A little
Why?
lighter on their feet.
Why is the Enterprise underwater? This makes no sense at all. Stay in orbit. They're a primitive society. They don't have satellites. They can't see you in orbit. Stay in orbit. It's what they did all through the original series. It seemed to work. There's no need to go underwater. It's just to be dramatic and, look at us. See? Even Scotty doesn't agree.
Beam Spock back to the ship. Give me one way to do it.
Maybe if we had a direct line of sight.
Hold on, wee man. You're talking about an active volcano, sir. If that thing erupts, I can't guarantee we can withstand the heat. I don't know that we can maintain that kind of altitude.
Our shuttle was concealed by the astronaut.
Okay, so, like, later in this movie, they can beam from Earth to Kronos, which is an incredible distance, but they need line of sight to beam somebody out of a volcano? Bullshit!
Again, that cold is coming back. Now the comms are dead.
90 seconds to detonation.
Yes. Good job, Kirk. Right in front of all the natives.
He's already interfered enough by saving their lives.
By making them run like 60 feet. That'll help save them from the volcano. I don't know why he stole that thing, first of all.
To get them away from the volcano.
By running 60 feet.
I think it was more than 60 feet.
Still, it's not enough to save them from the volcano.
No, just the eruption before the device detonates. You keep these on the whole time, I swear.
This part's really cool, though. How that is no longer liquid hot magma.
Okay, Dr. Evil.
Look, there goes the Enterprise. That was pretty cool. That was like a wow factor for JJ. He had to get that in there. That's the only reason.
Spock smoking hot.
You alright?
That's the only reason the ship was underwater, was so that there could be that epic scene of it taking off. It's a wow factor, and it's a summer movie, so let's do something spectacular. Totally unnecessary.
But awesome.
Spock. You saved the world.
You violated the Prime Directive.
Oh, come on, Spock. They saw us. Big deal.
I love what the Cinema Sins guy says about this. So now this whole planet worships the Enterprise. Just like millions and millions of people on Earth.
All hail the warp engines.
Oh no, I will not. They're too close together though. They're further apart. I might hail them a little more. Still an ugly ship. And then get the fairy dust. Look, sprinkly fairy dust. There's no fairy dust when you go to warp.
Maybe it's the after effect of transwarp.
Maybe it's all the ice on the ship because it still had water on it when it went into space.
There you go, see?
Bullshit, because it does it later. It's fairy dust. It's sprinkly magic fairy dust. We should call the EPA. That's probably like wreaking havoc in space.
They've already had that problem.
Yeah, well, not this planet. I love me some chicks with tails. So Captain Pike's uniform here is like the last one he was wearing in the last scene of the last movie. Very much like Kirk's first uniform you see him in the motion picture. So I like that little tie-in. It's kind of early in their development for that kind of uniform. But I let that pass. I do like the uniform though. These uniforms with the hats, not so much. They're kind of they're too militaristic for Starfleet. I think Starfleet's not a militaristic organization. So
I'm not going to listen. You don't listen to anybody but yourself. I can't listen.
You don't comply with the rules. You don't take responsibility for anything, and you don't respect the chair.
That's because it's a piece of shit chair in a Mac store.
You know why?
It's like he's a manager,
Because you're not ready
not a
for it.
captain. So Khan just beamed to Kronos, so that's awesome. And now in Pike's final minutes or seconds, Spock decides to mind rape him. Just because, without asking permission. Vulcans don't do that. It always has to be consensual, they've even said so. Oh, here we go.
Did Spock really get permission from McCoy?
He didn't read his thoughts. He
No, he just dumped all of his
his
brain
project.
into McCoy, because
Yeah.
that would be even better.
Because he didn't have time.
Is there time?
It's not the same thing.
I personally wouldn't mind giving my thoughts if I'm gonna die.
Yeah, but it's not the same thing. He should have. I don't know. That just doesn't seem right to me. But luckily for us, Pike's dead, and now his first officer, who's Kirk, gets command of the Enterprise again.
You're taking a tragedy and you're turning it into something horrible. Oh my god.
It is a shame because I like Pike. So
It's true.
oh look, Kronos, awesome.
Captain! I found this in the crash jump ship, sir. This is how the bastard got away.
What do you mean?
It's a portable transport beaming device.
Can you figure out where he went?
I already did, sir, and you're not gonna like it. He's gone to the one place we just
In the
can't
last
go.
movie, he designed this transwarp beaming with Prime Spock's help.
He's on Kronos, sir.
It was developed to transport someone onto a ship at warp. What does that have to do with transporting someone
Give us a minute.
to another goddamn planet?
Kronos. Yes, sir. So Harrison's gone to the Klingon homeworld.
Maybe they used the wrong term. Maybe it should be a subspace transporter. That would make sense.
Yeah, but like with everything else in JJ's, nothing makes sense. So
Oh, so it was one word off. Transwarp, subspace.
that's 2 words.
All out war with the Klingons is inevitable, Mr. Kirk. Yeah, to me, it's already begun. Since we first learned of their
So we got all the ships here lined up.
plans that we know of, fired on our ships half a dozen times.
Even the Phoenix, there's NX-01. And why the frick would they have the Kelvin and not like the Enterprise, the Constitution class there instead of the Kelvin? Why would they have a Scout class and then go to the Dreadnought?
Maybe he likes the Calvin.
Defense technology and training our officers.
Well, yeah, because no one would like the Enterprise and have the model of it because it's just a flaming piece of
Maybe
shit.
those are ships that he just has an affinity for.
Maybe, but it just doesn't make sense. The lineage there. Go from NX-01, which to a Scout class ship to then a Dreadnought. Technically, it should go NX-01, maybe Scout class, then Constitution class, then his Dreadnought prototype. See what I'm saying?
His death is on me.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to model the new Enterprise either, so I can't really blame him for that one.
Mr. Spock, you said the province of strategy. 31 developed a new photon torpedo. Long range and
A
untraceable.
new photon torpedo that's long range and untraceable from planet to planet. Sounds more like an ICBM or IPCM, interplanetary.
You fire, you kill him, and you
Planet
haul
system.
ass.
I don't know.
Permission to reinstate Mr. Spock as
Retarded.
officer.
It's not a photon torpedo. It is a missile.
Perhaps you should take the requisite time to arrive at this conclusion for yourself.
Captain Kirk. Science Officer Wallace.
Hello.
Assigned to the Enterprise by Admiral Marcus. These are my transfer orders.
The whole time watching this the first time, I'm thinking that should be Carol Marcus, and I was right. So
Lieutenant Carol Wallace, doctorate in applied physics.
I figured she was married or something, but no.
Impressive credentials,
Thank you.
but redundant now that I'm back aboard the Enterprise.
And yet, the more the merrier. Just see, Doctor.
So there's the flaming piece of crap again. But if you look over here, you'll see a red starship. It's actually red. And it's Federation design, it's Starfleet design, so you can't tell me it's not a Starfleet ship. Why do they have a red starship?
Why not?
Because no starship has ever been red in Federation aesthetics. That's just dumb. It doesn't match with the way Starfleet looks.
Are you complaining about matching?
Yes?
Matchy, matchy.
Photon torpedoes run on fuel. Now I can't detect the type of fuel that's in the compartments on these torpedoes because... Flight checks complete. We're good to go.
So, these are warheads,
Now, if you'll excuse me, sir, I have
and Mr. Comedy Relief is sitting on one.
Your vitals way off.
I think when he started, I don't even know why he's in this movie or why he's in the last one. And look, the engine room is actually something that looks like an engine room this time. It's not a brewery. They went to the National Ignition Facility, which uses lasers to study photon science and the nature of antimatter, which is cool. It's kind of a step towards an actual engine. So we're not in a brewery this time, so good job, JJ.
And it's in San Francisco.
plenty of straws. How about straws?
However,
Confiscating my transport
I'm still not happy with the engine room. I want a warp core.
across the galaxy. Where do you think it got it from?
They didn't even
That's what scares
they didn't
me.
even change it at all to make it look like Starfleet.
Operation.
They put stickers maybe a few places.
I like stickers.
But really, guys, really.
Right, well, you
Like I said, at least we upgraded from a brewery this time. So bravo, JJ. Good job.
no choice, sir.
So Scotty resigns here. Kirk accepts his resignation. Yeah, and because reasons, his pet has to resign also.
Not pet, best friend. Wouldn't you resign if your best friend resigned? Under principle?
Captain, I'm so
No.
sorry about Admiral Pike.
You're an ass.
Are you okay?
I don't know.
Mr. Chekhov.
So if everything's supposed to be the way it is, which never is in JJ's, Chekhov should be an ensign.
Affirmative, sir. Good. I'm a new chief. I'll put on the red shirt.
Once again, this ship that's huge and has thousands of crew doesn't have anybody else that can be chief engineer. They gotta promote an ensign.
But he's the whiz kid.
I don't care. And he just got his, yeah, look, you just said, he just signed his death warrant. He got signed a red shirt. He's like, surprised it doesn't go beep, beep, beep as it's backing up. Figured JJ would add that, you know. He's all for realism in this movie.
Lieutenant O'Hara, open a ship-wide channel.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chekhov, how we looking out there? Hold C, Mr. Chekhov.
Oops, hit the button. Okay, so he just sent Chekhov down there like 30 seconds ago, and suddenly he's in a red shirt and in the engine room, which, because of the bridge configuration on the ship, is probably on the same deck as the engine room.
They probably have spare red shirts just hanging around.
Well, yeah, they would, definitely.
Yeah, because you gotta like.
But it'd be hard to find one without a phaser burn or something on it.
Stab.
Yeah.
Slash marks.
So literally, he just got off the bridge, they just started pulling out, and he's already in engineering with the red shirt on.
Channel open, sir.
That's fancy.
Attention crew of the Enterprise. Thank you, Mr. Spock.
And as in the first movie, a bunch of hyperspace transport
Transwarp,
conduit bullshit, not warp.
Warp.
Wouldn't have it in the original series era. That
Why
wasn't
not?
developed until movie era.
Why? Because of the Borg technology?
It's just, don't even start.
Stop with me.
There's no.
What do you mean don't even start? That's my job, remember?
Verifying the torpedoes into the microscope.
What are you doing aboard this ship? There is no record of you being assigned to the Enterprise.
She's being pretty on board this ship. That's what she does.
Conclusion as well, Dr. Marcus. Except you have lied about your identity. Wallace is the surname of your mother. I can only assume the Admiral is your father.
What a revelation!
I'm aware that I have no right to
This
ask
should have been
this.
called Star Trek.
Please.
What a twist!
You cannot know that I'm...
Because we got Carol Marcus, we got Khan. Oh, you don't even know that yet. Sorry, guys. Spoiler alert. So anyway, the Enterprise manually drops out of warp,
Sorry, sir, I don't know what happened. The core overheated. I do have
and they're right next to Klingon space. So not only does it take
Let's soon return to our destination.
like less than a day to warp to Kronos, it should
If
take
transwarp, yes.
weeks.
Transwarp.
We're Spock.
But we can also beam there. Do we beam through a transwarp corridor too? Is that why it's
No
called
subspace.
Is that why it's called transwarp beaming? Because we're using the transwarp
Maybe.
corridor.
See?
Absolutely not.
Do you even know what transwarp beaming is?
No.
Okay, we'll go on to explain this in Trekyards at some point. But transwarp beaming is the theory of using the transporters in conjunction with the warp drive to make your ship go faster. We do this by beaming the nacelles a little bit ahead of the ship while we're at warp. So the ship has to move faster, theoretically, to catch up to the nacelles, increasing your warp speed. That doesn't create a tunnel that you fly through.
Again, they probably were using the wrong.
Of course they were using the wrong vernacular. It's JJ. He didn't do any research, didn't do anything. Didn't even watch an episode of Star Trek because it's too cerebral for him. I'm going to watch Star Wars and then go direct Star Trek.
Bitter much?
No, I'm not bitter. I just... Once again, the ship must be the size of a walnut. Kirk just left the bridge. Sulu just sat in a chair and started his announcement. And suddenly, Kirk is in the shuttle bay, changed, while the announcement is still going on.
Maybe he transwarp beamed into the shuttle bay.
Of course. So, hey, it's Cupcake from the first movie.
Oh, he's so sweet.
It's actually one of my favorite characters. I really like him.
Cupcake?
Yeah. Like I said, it reminds me of my friend Jay.
It's true.
So Jay, if you're watching this, which you won't be because you're not a Star Trek fan, here's a shout out to you, buddy. So, here, as we're approaching Kronos, we see a destroyed planetoid, moon, whatever. Looks a lot like Praxis. That got destroyed in Star Trek 6 due to overmining, which would have been years and years and years down the road from here. But maybe the Klingons, after they captured Nero's ship, did excessively more mining and it blew up sooner? I don't know. But that would have decimated their atmosphere and everything. That could be why this region of Kronos is uninhabited, by the way.
That would explain it, because they did say that in Star Trek 6 that when Praxis was destroyed, it caused big ecological problems on Kronos.
And the region they're going to, she knows this information, so I'm going to let her take over. Sorry, we had to rewind for a second, so she looked confused, but she knows what she's talking about now. Go ahead.
Wait for it. Ketha province. That would be where Martok came from, the Ketha lowlands, a farming community, not where officers came from, which made it a big deal for him to eventually become Chancellor of the Klingon Empire.
But in this world, in this JJ universe, it's uninhabited, which means
No Martok!
if Praxis did explode early, prematurely, you know, premature explosion, we all have that problem at the same time, it would make sense that the ecological mess that made would make that region uninhabitable, and therefore it would just alter everything. So
No Martok.
there might not be no Martok, or he's going to come from the area where officers come from, and he's not going to be. It's not going to be a big deal that he becomes Chancellor. I don't know. That's for real Trekkies that actually know what we're talking about, and not JJ fans. Sorry, guys. Sorry. And more of JJ not doing his research. Kronos is not spelled like that. Kronos is spelled Q-U-O-N-O-S. Kronos. It's not Chronos, it's Kronos. Kronos. Spelled with a Q, not a K, but okay. And for some reason, this scene reminds me of my daughter, Selena, and her teenage drama. Uhura is an officer, she's a grown woman, yet she's throwing a hissy fit. This is what I mentioned in the other movie. Very inappropriate times to mention things and do things. Not very much like a grown woman.
You didn't care.
Didn't
I'm
care.
not the only one who's upset with you. The captain is too.
If you're dating a Vulcan, you should expect this shit. Don't you think? Wouldn't you assume so? You're a woman.
Probably.
Would you bring it up on an important mission? You wouldn't do this like on the way there? Oh, that's right. We only have an hour before we get from Earth to Kronos, so you don't have time to talk. Theoretically, it should take a week or more to get to the edge of Klingon territory.
Transwarp.
And then from the edge of Klingon territory, you have to go through Klingon territory to get to Kronos because it's not at the edge of their territory. It'll be at the heart of their territory. So you got to face all these warships and patrols and everything. And don't even get me started. I'm starting to rant, and I'm not getting poked with nothing, so I won't stop. And enjoy. And I know they mentioned earlier, this is a civilian ship. It's acquired in the Mud incident that happened months earlier, so Mud's women. But it looks a lot like the ship from Lost in Space, the movie. I can't remember the name of the ship right now, damn it. But yeah, it looks a lot like the Lost in Space ship. But this is a really cool scene where they're flying through the buildings, and I like it. I enjoy this kind of high-speed thing, but Star Trek.
There's a whole episode of a race on Voyager with the Delta Flyer.
But not on a planet's surface through buildings.
No, but still, it was a pretty hairy race.
I know. I like this and all, but it's more Star Wars, guys. Come on. Anybody can see that. Surprised they're not shooting at womp rats while they're doing this. I think JJ's a nerf herder. He ain't scruffy looking, he's just nerdy looking. I know, I'm nerdy looking too. The Jupiter one! The Jupiter one! That's the ship from Lost in Space. Sorry, I had a brain fart there. What?
You feel better now?
I do, I feel much better. And this ship, I know I've said this before, but look at it. It screams Star Wars. Look at the corridors, all lights lining it. It screams Star Wars, guys. That's my opinion. So if I look on her face, she doesn't agree. And these aren't Klingons. These are more like Blingons. They're very fabulous, as you'll see in a moment. Cool armor and all. I do love the armor, but would a warrior race really wear armor like that? No, they wouldn't be afraid of their enemies. They wouldn't have to hide their faces or be worried that they're going to get their heads cut off. That's what they want. The glory of battle. I don't know. I just don't think they'd wear masks and helmets.
Maybe the environmental issues.
Oh, that's a good call. I like that. Look at her.
I know I'm smart.
That's why I keep her around, guys. Well, one of the many reasons, anyway. So they got funky blue eyes, which is fine. Could be because of the environmental problems. Maybe it's some kind of mutation in their genetic code. But look at the blinginess. They got like piercings everywhere. They're so fancy. You really think a Klingon would do that? Honestly?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe a teenager, rebellious Klingon. I'm gonna get my
Maybe it's a new fashion trend.
I'm gonna get my ridges pierced. Yeah. No. I don't think a warrior would have
Fashion. Warriors won't have piercings?
that. Not gold ones that are all fancy. I don't buy it, guys. I don't buy it.
Really?
Are there any piercings on Klingons in the real Star Trek? Any, at all. Exactly my point.
I accept your surrender.
How frustrating would this be? To kick the living shit out of somebody and then just be like, are you done?
It's like beating up a Vulcan.
Yeah. Because like Kirk's like laying into him and Khan's just like, I'm gonna go grab me some ice cream. You know, I got time.
Ice cream?
Hang out with the Blingons. Bling. Go to the mall, hang out with my buddies, and my piercings. Woohoo. Get some ice cream slushy. I don't know. Apparently, the genetically enhanced genome makes you British, too.
That's okay.
Samuel, you're genetically enhanced. You're better than us. If you don't know who Samuel is, you haven't watched Trekyards, and that's a shame. Watch Trekyards. So, they're taking him to the brig, which is fine. But in the last one, instead of putting Kirk in the brig, Spock just ejected him out of the ship into an inhospitable planet, Delta Vega, and yeah. So now all of a sudden, now we're going to put our enemies in the brig instead of just ejecting from the ship.
Because Kirk wasn't an enemy. Kirk was an annoyance.
Which is even more of a reason to put him in the brig and then eject him. Like, seriously. They were supposed to kill this guy, but no, we're going to put him in the brig. I don't know.
Because they got to bring him back to Earth to put him on trial. You can't really just send him out in an escape pod.
But Marcus wanted him dead.
So?
I want him dead. I want his family dead. I want his house burned to the ground.
Okay, Don. Don the Foley.
I gotta admit, I love the brig. This is a really cool. And through this whole thing, watching this up to this point, I was hoping to God this wasn't Khan. I was hoping, oh my God, it's John Harrison. Like, it's not Khan. They're gonna, like, not fuck it up. And, of course, like I said, Star Trek. What a twist! Only not, because everybody knew this was coming. And I know Khan being British bugs a lot of people. It does me too. He's a Sikh, and there's no other Khan other than Ricardo Montalban, but his arrogance and his superiority in this scene just drips with Khan. You know what I mean? It's just Khan. Like the arrogance, like I can see why Marla MacGyver's would have been attracted to that in the original series. If he was that sure of himself.
Confidence is a sexy thing.
Yeah, there's a fine line between confidence and arrogance and being an asshole though, right?
That's also true.
But I think he pulls it off without being an asshole. Even though he's killing lots of people or whatever.
But he does it so classy.
I know. He's British after all.
I know, yay!
And the British are just classy all the time. This part's kind of funny, how they're talking to each other on their communicators. And I've heard people complain about this scene, saying communicators don't have that long a range. They are in Kronos. They're in Kronos space. He's on Earth. But this communicator would be tied in with the ship's communications, which would be transmitting to Earth, which should link up to his communicator. So I don't have a problem with this scene so much as what I've heard other people complain about, but it's kind of neat. They're just chatting on their cell phones.
Don't know exactly what you are the one who quit.
You made me quit.
Mr. Scott.
Why doesn't he just call him back? How hard is it? Like, seriously.
It's hard for men to call them back, call people back.
I'm not doing that man any favors. No. All right then.
It's like his little Jiminy Cricket.
You're not actually going to listen to this guy.
Like his conscience?
Yeah, like from Pinocchio.
Good idea to
I don't think Scotty needs one of those little guys trailing around him to be amusing. James Doohan did an awesome job of being awesome at Scotty.
Very uncomfortable. Perhaps you too should learn to govern your emotions, Doctor.
because he dared you to.
Why did he save our lives, Bones?
So they're talking about opening a torpedo. Listen to what McCoy says.
Very uncomfortable. Perhaps you too should learn to govern your emotions, Doctor. In this situation, logic dictates that we have.
My God, there's a maniac trying to make us blow up our own damn ship, then, and you're talking about.
I don't know why he surrendered, but that's not it. Look, we're going to open a torpedo. The question is how.
It's coming out.
Jim, without Mr. Scott on board, who exactly is qualified to just pop open a 4-ton stick of dynamite?
I don't know. Maybe one of the other 60 or so engineering crew that they might have on board.
Admiral's daughter.
Or the hundreds, apparently, according to this ship's size. There are other people qualified in engineering besides just the chief engineer and the ensign that you just assigned to chief engineer. Like, seriously. The only people that exist in this Star Trek, apparently, are the main characters.
Yes.
Any problems? I am sorry. I'm Carol Marcus.
She's Carol Marcus.
I know, she's a hottie.
Father gave me access to every program he oversaw.
Then I heard he was developing these prototype torpedoes. When I was
How is it?
Eye candy for the movie.
he wouldn't even
Oh,
see
yes.
me.
JJ does do some things right.
Torpedoes had just-
This is one of them. Or two of them. Or three of them.
Much cleverer than your reputation suggests, Captain
Anyway.
Kirk.
And this scene coming up, a lot of people complain about it. I like it.
Of course you would.
Transferred to the outer frontier to be a nurse.
You need something to watch while you're watching this
You have no
awesome
idea
movie.
what you're talking about, do you?
What are we doing here?
Is this shuttle prepped to fly?
Anyway, what was I saying prior to this?
I have no
I
idea.
got
You got
distracted.
distracted.
I got distracted by Carol.
It's too dangerous to try and
Which I'm gonna keep this running for you guys.
But there is a nearby
I know a lot of people bitch and complain about this scene.
But I will
Feel free to comment below, but
turn around
I rather enjoy it. Thank you very much.
now.
Would you turn around?
No. Here we go with the big window. The bridge should be up here, not down here.
Position now.
But
Any activity from the Klingons?
Not yet. But if
the view screen is not a window. I'm sorry, people.
Lieutenant O'Hara, did you let Starfleet know we have Harry?
So how can these legendary
Who sends their chief medical officer down to the planet to disarm a torpedo?
Steady hands. Dax did say that McCoy had the hands of a surgeon.
Wrong universe. Wrong universe.
Still.
Let me tell you, those little bastards bite.
I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Magic on your wrist.
Dr. McCoy, there's a bundle of fiber optic cables.
And of course, we have to end this scene by...
23rd
Well,
down.
we'll
Whatever you
get there when we get
do,
there. And of course, like every scene in every movie, oh, I can't disarm it, I can't disarm it, so let's just...
Anybody transport Dr. Marcus on your command, sir?
Let's just pull everything out. And that always works in movies.
You'd be surprised how well that works.
That's what I would do from the beginning in real life. You know, cut the yellow wire, cut the red wire, fuck it, cut them all.
He would have been.
If you blow up, you blow up. If you cut them all, you're gonna get one of them right. Chances are it's gonna work. How can it operate if you cut the... I don't know. There's a person in there.
It's not a 4-ton stick of dynamite.
It's a 4-ton cryostasis tube.
You know how much 4 tons is?
Yeah. Depends whether you're talking metric tons or tons. There's a difference.
Tons and tons of differences.
A lot of people watching this are going to be from the States, so they don't know what a metric ton is. But
The metric system.
far superior to the imperial system. Sorry guys, it's true. You need to get on board. Most of the planet's on board with that. Anyway, I don't want to insult anybody. A lot of my fans and a lot of my good friends are from the States.
America.
Murica. He won't be watching this either. You got a friend named Murica. He's not really named Murica. Anyway, long story.
Okay, stop.
I'm rambling.
Yes.
Anyway, so this dry dock space station thing is floating around Jupiter, and Marcus is developing his ultra secret dreadnought in there. How many people would know about this though? Lots. You need a lot of people to build a dreadnought. So, I don't know, this all seems sketchy to me. And they wouldn't notice another shuttle, like, just coming down and joining the group of shuttles going in. That's not suspicious at all.
Holy.
It's quite clever, actually. This
Cute.
fuel container's been removed.
And another thank you to JJ here. He actually does a good job. This uniform looks a lot like McCoy's original tunic, which I like.
I like that one.
I do like the new uniforms. I gotta say, I said that in the last one.
Cryotube is
I like
ancient.
Admiral Pike's uniform. I love the standard crew uniforms. This tunic's nice. The only thing I don't really like is the militaristic dress uniforms with the hats. Like, why would you need a hat? That'll wreck your hair.
Benedict.
Mr. Cumberbatch.
What, I like him.
I like him too. He's awesome. He plays Sherlock, man.
I know.
Yeah. Good actor too.
I think I like him for different reasons, though.
You never know.
The remnant of the true identity. My name is Khan.
What a twist!
Ask a 300-year-old frozen man for help.
Because I am better.
It's because it's British.
Everything.
Acting.
That's also true.
Alexander Marcus needed to respond to an uncivilized threat in a
Better at everything.
After that, he needed a warrior's mind. My mind. To design weapons.
You're gonna give Samuel a big head.
You are suggesting the Admiral violated every
You're gonna give Samuel an inflated ego.
because he wanted to exploit your intellect. Wanted to exploit.
So the dreadnought just arrived out of transwarp or hyperspace.
Marcus is thinking, my ship's bigger.
It's because it's black.
Huh?
See? Now, if only we had a giant bottle we needed opening.
On screen.
Well, if you look at the saucer section, it looks like a huge bottle opener. Like, I want to buy the toy so that I can open bottles with it.
Captain Kirk?
It would be an awesome gimmicky thing to sell on
There you
StarTrek.com.
go.
Wasn't expecting you.
If you haven't thought of it already, somebody think of it, because it'd make a good bottle opener. I'd actually buy it.
Expecting to get word that you're taking Harrison to custody.
There are problems with the ship, but I prefer it to the Enterprise.
We had to
You
improvise
prefer a lot of things
It's-
to this new Enterprise.
Its proportions are better. The engines are spaced further apart. It's a little bit stouter.
Take your meaning.
It looks nicer.
here, isn't it?
Proportion-wise. Proportion-wise. I know a lot of people are screaming at me like,
Starfleet personally
my buddy William Gulliver, he absolutely hates the ship.
Is there
So,
something I can help you
but-
find, sir?
it's my opinion.
Where is your prisoner, Kirk?
Per Starfleet
And it's wrong.
regulation, I'm
Thank
planning
you.
on returning Khan to Earth.
If I wanted your opinion, I'd give it to you. So,
Well, shit.
Other way around.
Talk to him.
well, shit. You talk to him.
That's exactly what I was
I love
hoping to
that.
spare you from.
And look how dedicated Kirk is to Starfleet here. Look at the wound on his face. Oh, right here. It's in the Starfleet Delta shape.
Give him
Even when he gets damaged, he
so that I can
call
end
it,
where I
you know,
started.
Starfleet. See?
And what exactly would you like me to
And that
do
takes
for
skill
those
to get a wound
soldiers?
like that, I'm sure.
Fire them. Mr. Seward, set course for Earth. Sit. Punch it.
Okay, Han Solo, I'll punch it. And here we go again with the magical fairy dust. So it wasn't ice crystals on the ship. It's magical fairy dust.
What would you want him to say besides punch it? Engage?
Yes.
You can't use another captain's thing.
You're wrong.
No one in Star Trek history has ever said punch it. Not even Kirk.
Tell them we were pursued into the neutral zone by an Emerald
You can't
Federation ship.
punch warp. It's not on-off like hyperdrive. It's a sliding scale. Impulse.
But
No.
maybe it's because they're
Up
going
to
into
warp 1, warp 2,
trans
warp 3. Oh my god. Transwarp.
He just doesn't like me saying transwarp.
Because it's a cop-out at this point. You use
It
it
is.
so much.
I like it.
Oh look, they're in the same corridor.
A transwarp corridor. He's gonna poke me soon.
Okay.
Close your mouth.
The Enterprise in this scene takes more damage than the Enterprise took in the whole series and all the movies of Star Trek. And to take this much damage in warp and to fall out of... You fell out of a fucking tunnel there because you dragged like fairy dust with you again. But to fall out of warp at that speed would rip that ship to pieces.
Wait, so the Enterprise took more damage than it did in Star Trek 3?
You know what I mean? As far as battle damage goes. This is not a Star Trek battle. It's a Star Wars battle. Like, seriously. It's an issue. And now, okay, they've gone to Kronos and back to Earth in a day. And now they're hanging outside the moon, you know, near Earth.
That's usually where the moon is.
I know, but hey, Daddy, how's it going? And they didn't. How convenient that they fall out of warp. Fall out of warp at the moon. What? They're going to wait another 2 seconds and come out of warp on the other side of Earth?
Yeah.
Of destroying a ship full of
And warping inside a... Oh no, it's transwarp, so it doesn't matter. We can transwarp inside a solar system,
Then you
guys.
have
True.
to do it with me on board.
Boy.
It's okay. It's okay.
Actually, Carol, I won't.
Because you're pretty.
Oh, thank
And now you're all sparkly glowy.
No, sir. Captain Kirk, without authorization and in league with the fugitive John.
I'll do anything you want.
More damage, like all the damage on his face from the fight, I understand, but
Let them live.
will this actor, Chris Pine, ever be able to make it through a Star Trek movie without having his face all beat up by the end of it?
I was never going to spare your crew.
So you mean Kirk, he got pwned again in this one?
Well, yeah, he always gets pwned, but really, like, I would like the next movie for him to actually go the whole movie without having, like, damage all over his face. They have dermal regenerators in the future. Can't McCoy just, like, fix that shit?
It's a BFG.
It is a BFG. Big fracking gun.
To a prince who was betrayed into
So we're just watching this scene, and she brought up a very valid point. Just hold on a second. Listen to this conversation.
I need you on the bridge.
I cannot allow you to do this. It is my function aboard this ship to advise you in making the wisest decisions possible, something I firmly believe you are incapable of doing in this moment.
You're right.
I'm emotionally compromised. Which means, according to the first movie,
It is a gut.
He needs to be relieved of duty.
I have no idea where
it's the grounds he used to relieve Spock of duty in the first movie, because he was emotionally compromised because he lost Vulcan and his mother.
The Enterprise and the crew need someone in that chair that knows what he's doing.
So I don't know if Kirk doesn't qualify because he only lost a mentor and not a real relative. I don't know. I don't know how it works. But technically Kirk should be relieved of duty at this point, especially if Spock doesn't agree with him. See what I'm saying? See what I'm saying?
Bones, what are you doing with that triple?
The triple's dead. I'm injecting Khan's platelets into the deceased.
They
tissue of the
experimented on the
necrosis.
triple like a lab rat.
Cells regenerate like
Sad.
nothing I've seen, and
I
won't
like
know why.
triples.
But what? Watching this the first time, as soon as I saw that, I'm like,
You coming with
okay, the trouble's gonna come back to life, and then somebody's gonna die, and then they're gonna come back to life. So they were, I don't know.
But still the triple.
There's a cargo door. Hangar 7 access port 101A.
We have 3 triples downstairs, and
I love them.
she loves them. Actually, 4 triples. Yeah, we got a new one. So.
You know, small is 4 square meters tops.
Why would they have something, an airlock that small, in a cargo hold? It isn't even big enough to attach like a shuttle pod to, or anything. It makes no sense to have one that small.
Maybe it's like to hook up kind of like a conveyor belt, so it can just like, you know, move product in or like supplies into the cargo hold.
What supplies?
It's a warship. I'm assuming eventually they have to move like weapons.
I'm pretty sure that they just beam those aboard, maybe? I don't know, because
You
they're
really
weapons.
want to beam a volatile explosive?
Maybe.
No.
And that's a really small thing still. You'd have a bigger one. There's no need for one that small.
You don't like them small?
Either the information or the
You don't, that's for sure. Ow.
You totally deserve that.
Spock, pull the trigger.
Yes, Captain.
Who is she, and why can't we see more of her?
Launching activation sequence on 3.
And because it's JJ, we have another Star Wars moment coming up.
Spock, my display's dead. I'm flying blind.
Captain, without your display compass, hitting your target destination is mathematically impossible. Spock, if I
Never tell me the odds. Thanks, 3PO.
Is that gonna make it?
Jesus.
9, the person counting down, please.
Are you hearing things, mate?
7, 6, 5.
Who is this guy? And did they just rescue him from the Matrix? He's got one of the plug-in things for his head.
Two go in, one go out? Yep.
The odds of him not hitting those two are very small. They would have been like all smushed, all 3 of them.
Please.
Stand by.
Mr. Spock. Mr. Spock.
Can't do your own thing, JJ? Need to call in a real Star Trek actor to make your project legitimate? Really?
Spock.
I know, but
Deal with you in a
I'm ashamed to be your daughter.
No. So, in this scene, we stun everybody on the bridge, and then Scotty stuns Khan, and the stun setting actually works on him.
How do you know? Maybe he's faking it.
Maybe he is legit, but at least he went down. So, I don't know if he's legit faking it or
You're not actually going to do this.
if it actually worked, but that's important later. Okay, legit, he just got up, so he was probably faking it. You're probably right.
I know I am.
But owie. It's kind of harsh.
Crushing
someone's skull. There ain't no new RoboCop body for you anymore, Peter Walker.
Where is the captain, Mr. Silvija?
You didn't get your hand shot off this time or anything, but still.
I'm going to make this.
You will also destroy.
Here's an example of poor writing.
Requires oxygen to survive. Mine does not. I will target your life support systems located behind the aft nacelle. After every single person.
What the fuck is an aft nacelle? There are two nacelles, one on each side. There is no aft nacelle. That's just bad writing, bad technical research, and JJism coming into play.
Okay, breathe.
I don't listen to you unless you put the horns on.
Breathe!
Ow! You just punctured my lung. How am I gonna breathe?
You can breathe through the hole I punctured. Trade.
That's not cool.
If they're not my commander, I will.
Oh, it's beautiful. Look at this. Ah. I love it. I was hoping so much that this was going to be the end of this Enterprise. Done. Maybe we'll get a refit that looks better. Sadly, I was mistaken. But it's great to see this Enterprise getting the shit kicked out of it, because it's what it deserves. And I just want to point something out for later reference. First of all, they're still near the moon, but look at the impulse engines on the Enterprise there. Let's rewind a second, sorry. I was talking. So they're still near the moon, which is important. And also, if you look at the Enterprise's impulse engines, they're like the original ones. They're nice. I like them. You know, they did something right. Awesome. Comes in important later. This scene's also important.
I've got God's crew. 72 human popsicles.
72 genetic engineered humans on board the Enterprise. That'll also come in important later.
Switch to auxiliary power.
Auxiliary power failing, sir.
And back to this point, we're still near the moon, yet somehow we're going to fall to Earth? I didn't know Earth's gravity would be that effective at that distance. Otherwise, the moon would crash into Earth pretty quick.
Maybe they got a push. From the explosion.
And it exploded. So yeah, I was hoping against hope that...
Wishing against wish.
Yes, that the Enterprise would totally bite the bullet in this movie. And we get an early refit. And it might be nice. And I love that this ship has seatbelts. That's one thing the Enterprise has always been lacking. Until Enterprise E. Enterprise E has seatbelts. But yeah, in the original series, they're getting bounced around and thrown over consoles. And, and here we got this Enterprise with this big column in the middle, big open spaces, which is dangerous on a starship for this very reason. JJ, what the fuck are you doing?
Oh yeah, because getting sucked out into space can't happen on any other ship.
No, it's inside the space. Look at this big corridor that goes up through deck and deck and deck and deck. That's retarded to have on a spaceship.
Why?
For that very reason, if you use your internal dampeners or your artificial gravity, attitude control, thank you. The ship's going to tilt and you're going to fall to your death. I'd rather just have a corridor where you can
wouldn't
get...
the gravity plating keep you kind of on solid ground?
Not if it fails. It just doesn't make sense. And here again, the ship's cracking apart like in the first one. And, oh, no, sorry, we are back in the brewery. Here's the brewery. Sorry.
I think that was the antimatter cooling tank.
It looks...
Antimatter. Bleh.
It looks like a brewery. And the more wide open spaces. There shouldn't be wide open spaces in a ship.
Maybe the ship designer was claustrophobic.
Especially the Enterprise. Really? 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 And Chekhov would have to be some kind of Superman himself, maybe injected some of the Khan blood into him, to be able to hold these two guys. Oh, I know, the gravity plating failed and they weigh less.
He's Russian.
Does that make him superior like the British?
Yep.
Okay, so here we have the Enterprise, quite a distance from Earth, falling towards it.
Maybe it had momentum.
Okay, legit. I'll buy
An
that.
object in motion wants to stay in motion.
Especially in space.
Yes.
That makes 100% for a fact, but just it feels like it's falling towards Earth. Here we go. It's still falling. It's great to see this thing fall to its death. I love it.
There are any remaining power stabilizers.
Doing what I can, sir. Doing what I can.
There's more of the vats that they have the Budweiser in, so they did still film in the Budweiser factory for this one too. Awesome. Oh, the core's misaligned.
The housings are misaligned. There's no
That's a
way to
shame.
redirect the power. The radiation will kill us. Do you listen to me? What the hell are you doing?
Open the door, I'm going in.
That door is there to stop us from getting irradiated.
Pretty much exact same scenes from Star Trek 2, only Kirk doesn't take care of Scotty quite as, nicely. I'd rather be in the original timeline all the time, but if I was Scotty, especially now, because
I don't want to get punched in the face.
all he got was a Vulcan neck pinch in the real timeline. So now we're to believe he's inside the warp core. With this little thing being misaligned.
But why?
Why what?
Why is it misaligned?
I don't fucking know.
Maybe because it got jostled
Because
around.
JJ physics.
Got jostled around.
Because reasons. Anyway, still falling. It's a long fall from the moon.
Exactly.
Well, I know.
Would you expect it to be like
No,
instantaneous?
I'm saying that's legit. It's a long fall from the moon. Don't know why you would fall to Earth from the moon.
Yeah, would you really say it's falling?
Yes.
So you're going from up to down? Falling.
Yep. You're going towards the surface of the planet. You couldn't fall to the edge of the planet and do an orbit for months before you finally crash. You have to fall directly to the surface. Really, guys. And this whole him trying to align this thing is.
Wouldn't he more just be floating in space and then eventually coming too close to the Earth's gravitational pull and get sucked in?
Probably.
Okay.
Just like playing Angry Birds Space. And look at the angle he's kicking it at. His angle of attack is down. It's not up and over like it's supposed to be. It's down. There's no way that doing what he's doing will align this thing.
He's just trying to loosen it up so the system can do the automatic alignment.
Maybe that's legit. Maybe there is some kind of mechanism that's trying to align it. Cool. That fall would kill him
But he's Kirk.
or
man.
break his back.
That boy gets owned.
Okay, so now we're in the atmosphere. So now we actually have gravity affecting us. With no structural integrity field, this thing falling would fall apart, would rip apart. Especially if it applies opposite force to the direction it's moving, which it does here. The sudden stop would snap the nacelles off, probably take the saucer off. This is ridiculous to the point of, yes, ridiculousness. There's a reason that starships don't enter a planet's atmosphere. Like at the beginning of this movie, that's bullshit. They're not designed to do that.
Voyager was.
That's because it's a smaller ship. It's an Intrepid class. And you notice the nacelles aren't long for that very reason.
They tuck in.
Exactly. It's a lot stockier, sturdier little ship. It's not built like this one. So right there, that ship...
Maybe this ship was designed to go into the atmosphere. And into the bottom of an ocean.
Of course it was. Thank you, JJ.
You're welcome.
I'm not... Boy. And this scene's like right out of Star Trek 2.
Open it. The decontamination process is not complete. You flood the whole compartment.
He'll die.
The door is
Ah,
locked,
he's
sir.
dead already. Really? Really?
Yes, really.
okay, in the original one, we had 5 years of an original mission, 20 years, of like active service together, doing things. So they have this solid friendship. These guys have been together
for 4 years.
4 years. So yeah, I'm sure they got a friendship. But this isn't as touching as Star Trek 2 was, where we actually cared about the people. They
don't care about these people?
They had a friendship that this was tragic, and of course the roles are reversed.
It is what he would have done.
And like in the first one, yeah, it is what he would have done because he already did it. Anyway, and as in the first one, JJ movie, Spock just oozes and drips with emotion in this movie as well.
He's younger.
I'm scared.
Exactly. More reason for him not to do that.
Why?
Because Spock in the original series was very emotionless.
Yes, but he was older.
Oh my god. As far as Vulcan years go, not much. No.
No, he was older. He's a young little pup, apparently.
In the original series, he was the same age as this Spock, first of all. Because it's the same Spock. If it's the original series, which it is.
Yeah, but Kirk's younger, so wouldn't Spock be younger?
Younger than what?
Than they were in the original series.
No, they're the same age.
30s.
Yeah, so is this one.
This Kirk's not in his 30s?
Yes, he is.
How do you know?
Because JJ wouldn't fuck that up, too. I can't see him being that dumb. I'm giving him a little credit.
Because you are my friend.
Anyway, this is bullshit.
It's touching.
The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few.
With the one.
I have been, and always shall be, your friend. Like, be original, guys.
It worked the first time.
Yeah, it did, because it was genuine. This is just ridiculous. And you know he's going to come back to life.
He's like Kirk. Come on, of course he's got to come back to life.
It goes back to that whole Tribble getting injected with Khan's blood earlier. They shouldn't have done that scene, because as soon as I saw that, I'm like, I know exactly what's going to happen.
That poor Tribble.
Yes. I care more about the fucking Tribble being tested on than I care about Kirk dying in this one. You can't have a character die and expect it to have an emotional impact. When, first of all, we don't really know the character. And second of all, like 12 minutes later, he's back to life. Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
12 minutes exactly?
Oh, nope. Nobody does this like Shatner. JJ! It would have been much sweeter if that ship had just cut right through the Enterprise on its way down. That would have just been a perfect ending to this movie. Done. Everybody's dead. Try to fix them with Khan's blood now. Ah!
You're cynical.
Yes.
And grumpy.
Yes.
Stop.
Stop what?
Being cynical and grumpy.
Then I wouldn't be Captain Foley.
That's true.
How many people did this just kill?
A lot.
They're taking out like tons of buildings. Like this is brutally. I don't know. It's just
they destroy a whole planet in the last one, so I think a little bit of destruction in the city.
That's true.
It pales in comparison.
But this seems more impactful. More like we saw what was happening.
On Earth?
No, because we saw what was happening. We saw the buildings being destroyed, people running and screaming. Vulcan, we didn't see that. We just saw a few people getting beamed up, and then the planet got sucked into a black hole. This one just seems more like, it's more reminiscent of like a terrorist attack, like 9/11. It's, to see it is different than to just see a planet get sucked in. Big deal.
Oh, right. Big deal. Planet's gone.
And look at this whole fall, I don't care if you're Superman or not, this would have killed you. And just like in the first one, James Doohan's son is in this one. As you all know, he plays Scotty in Star Trek Continues. So I love how they tied him into this. It's awesome.
And he's a transporter.
And he's a transporter chief, which is neat. Really?
Tribble's alive.
Really?
I love that little guy.
Really? We got a zombie Tribble!
I wouldn't say it's a zombie. You know, I guess it's a little Tribble like going around going.
Brains. And I got a problem with this scene too. Not only is Spock oozing with emotion again, like he was just rageful, but the original Spock, Leonard Nimoy, the reason the Vulcan neck pinch was developed was because he didn't think that Spock's character would get into a fist fight. He wouldn't punch anyone. And all through the original series, he managed to avoid such things. What?
He did own Kirk in the transporter room.
True, but that's when he was filled with emotion because of the spores.
And a mock time.
Yes. Also, emotion because
But
of
he's emotional
Ponfar,
right now!
which is
So
bullshit.
wouldn't that mean he
No.
should be kicking some ass?
No, because there was other instances where he should have been kicking ass in the original series, and all he did was a subtle neck pinch to
But
the
was
back
he emotional?
and dropped a bunch of people. No, he
But
wasn't
was-
emotional because
Exactly.
Spock's not supposed to be emotional.
But he is
unless
now.
an outside influence like Ponfar or, like you said, the spores are influencing him.
But he's young.
He's the exact same age he was in the original series.
I contest that.
So anyway, this whole fist fight with Spock, can you actually see the original series Leonard Nimoy getting in a fist fight with anybody? No. He always walks around with his hands behind his back, you know.
So you mean the only one whose ass he kicked was Kirk's?
Yep. That's what best friends are for, after all.
To beat your ass?
I guess. This harkens back to something I pointed out earlier.
Can't reach Spock. I need Khan alive. You get that son of a bitch back on board right now. I think you can save Kirk, and we beam him up to the ship.
First of all, why do they need Khan's blood when they have 72 other genetically enhanced Supermen available to them? Secondly, why do they need him alive? Like up to like 10, 15 minutes after death, it'd probably be fine for getting some blood that would be viable.
How do you know?
I don't know, but I'm just saying,
And-
they have 72 other Supermen
But
available.
wait, they said if they don't have the proper reanimation sequence, they would die.
And look,
See? He was faking it.
maybe he was faking it. Maybe she forgot to charge her phaser before she came down. I don't know why this isn't working. Probably because it's not a real phaser and they're shooting like rubber bullets. Just
A
like,
broken arm doesn't.
if they're shooting rubber bullets at somebody, yeah, that's going to hurt them, piss them off. It's not going to stop them. But if it was a real phaser that had a stun setting that actually like, zzz, you hold it on until they're stunned, then they'd be stunned.
Look, Spock can lay some damage on Khan.
Uppercut.
And look at Cut It.
And of course, we all know that now Kirk's alive. Look, 12 minutes after I said so. Look at that. What a shocker.
What a twist.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Star Trek. What a twist.
You're barely dead.
There will always be
So, assuming that they don't end the franchise at number 3, which hopefully they will, because they're only contracted to do 3 of them,
risk awakening the same evil.
I can see him coming back in 4, 5, 6. Those looked a lot like F-14s. It just flew over.
Are you complaining?
No, I love F-14s. It's my favorite jet, but in the future, I don't know, maybe it's like a
That's not who we are.
heritage thing. I don't know.
We are here today to rechristen the USS Enterprise.
I was hoping it was refitting.
Honor those who lost their lives
They're rechristening the
1
Enterprise.
year ago.
It's been a year later.
When Christopher Pike first gave me his shirt. Who we once were.
So we've got this refitted Enterprise, and the only change to it,
Again.
as far as I can see, is a huge-ass impulse engine, which looks like shit.
Space. The final.
I liked the original look of the impulse engines, but that looked too original for JJ, so we had to ruin it yet again and add this huge-ass impulse engine.
To seek out
Maybe they
new
needed more
life and
impulse
new
power.
civilizations.
So they can go through an impulse transport corridor.
Has gone before.
That just
An
doesn't
impulse
even make
tower.
sense.
I know, neither does anything you said about transport corridor.
Yes, it does. Because I said it.
Yes, of course.
It's hard to get out of it once you've had a taste. Isn't that right, Mr. Sulu?
Captain does have an excellent theory.
Captain?
Captain Sulu.
Mr. Scott.
How's our call?
Can't see it happening.
Like a kitten, Captain? She's ready for a long journey.
Excellent.
Come on, Holmes. It's gonna be fun.
I'm glad they minimized the role of his pet in this movie.
5 years in space. God help me.
Dr. Marcus.
I love that Dr. Marcus is now a member of the crew.
You
It's
would.
our family.
I wonder if they're still going to have a little baby.
Where should we go?
As a mission of this duration has never been attempted. I defer to your good judgment, Captain.
Good judgment.
It's about time we left Earth. Considering they're supposed to be on a 5-year mission, like when this all started. Let's finally do what we're supposed to do. Which Robert Orkey says they're actually going to do in the next movie. They're going to go back to Star Trek's roots and exploration. And here we go with more fairy dust. Ooh, looky. Sparkly, sparkly.
Does it make you feel good inside?
Not really. I hate it. So there you go. Directed by J.J. Abrams. Star Trek Into Darkness. Did you guys like it? Did you hate it? Let us know in the comments below. And yeah. I don't know how to end this one except for saying that I hope number 3 is better. From all indications, with Orkey at the helm, he is a Star Trek fan. I know he wrote these last 2 and butchered them, see? But I have a lot of hope that number 3 might be worth watching.
You're gonna watch it regardless.
I will. This is true. I'll also own it because it is Star Trek. Like I say at the end of all of these JJ ones, they're still Star Trek. They're worth watching. They're worth having fun with. And if you can shut your brain off for 2 hours, you can actually enjoy them. Don't overanalyze them because then you can't enjoy it. So anyway, guys, this is Captain Foley and Silvia signing off for now. We will see you next time. I don't know what movie we're going to do next. Maybe Free Enterprise. If you're a Star Trek fan, it's a movie you got to check out. It's awesome. And I will talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.
Bye.